So good afternoon everyone. We will be discussing about tools. Okay. So since the internal auditors have a difficult and demanding job to do, and as the days went by, their job's difficulty levels increase, kailangan nilang gumamit or makahanap ng tools and techniques to meet their responsibilities. So, the computer-assisted audit techniques refers to the collection of software tools that allows auditors to examine transactions using computer tools. So, yung computer-assisted audit techniques ay isa siyang practice ng paggamit ng computers para maging automatic or let's say modern yung IT audit process. So, this usually includes office software such as spreadsheets or word processors or uh, text editing programs and mga advanced software na ginagamitan ng mga statistical analysis or etc. So this is very useful to collect, analyze, interpret, and present data that will benefit both auditors and management. So in this section, we examine 16 tools ranging from highly quantitative to qualitative ones. So we will be mentioning them later on. So these tools were developed by different fields such as statistics, economics, mathematics, quality controls, and management, and also include Wilfredo Pareto, Joseph M. Horan, Edward Stemming, and many more. I'm pretty sure we will be mentioning them ulit later. So, quality assurance provides methodologies and tools to prevent mistakes or defects in products and services. So, yung quality assurance, nagpo-provide nga siya ng methodologies tsaka tools para ma-prevent or maiwasan yung mga mistakes or defects sa products tsaka services natin. Nakakatulong din siya na makaiwas sa problems at makatulong sa auditors na mabigyan both management at yung board ng assurance na everything is going smoothly. So now let's move on to histogram. Okay. Histograms are chart that shows the frequency distribution of numerical data using rectangles, each yan, sorry, of which represents intervals. Histograms are used to assess the distribution of data and help to identify how data points are distributed. So, a histogram, isa siyang plot that lets you discover and show underlying frequency distribution of a set of continuous data. So, this was introduced by Carl Person. Ayan. So in a histogram, the x-axis, which is this one, represents a dimension arranged over equal intervals. So this could mean, this could represent hours of operations for a service center, prices, odometer readings, or similar variables. So the x-axis, this one, represents the quantity, frequency, or other metric being plotted against the interval. So this could represent a number of properties, visitors, vehicles, calls, etc. Ayan. So, para mas maintindihan natin, idadaan ko siya sa example kasi mahirap siya i-explain kung puro identification lang yung gagawin natin. So, for example, you have a restaurant and gusto mo malaman kung ano yung pinakamaraming age group na kumakain sa restaurant mo. So, para malaman mo, you can create a histogram. So, sa paggawa ng histogram, malalaman mo yung frequency ng numerical data na hinahanap mo. In our example, yung numerical data natin is the age group. So, paano nga ba gumawa ng histogram? Okay. So, as you can see here, we have different data or ages na kumakain sa restaurant mo. This is the ages. Let's say, nag-survey ka, and this is what you got. Okay. So, what we have to do first is to calculate the range of values. So, dapat hanapin natin yung minimum na value mo and the maximum too. So, we have 20 to 100 and then 1 to 5. Kasi yun yung minimum and then the maximum mo. So, next is divide the range into evenly spaced intervals. So, ayun, we need to split the data into intervals. Okay, FYI, the intervals is this one, the bars. Yung bins, itong bins na tinatawag natin, interval din yan, parang different term lang yan. And sometimes, kung masusearch kayo, you can actually see other people using the term bucket. Kasi parehas lang naman yun, bucket, bins, intervals, they are just the same. So, ayan, meron tayong 10 to 30 na age group. 30 to 40. So, lahat yan parang in a 10-year period. Okay, so next is number 3. Count the numbers of observations in each interval. So, yun. So, you have to know the frequency. So, sa each group mo na 20 to 30, ilan ba yung kumakain sa restaurant mo that time? So, we have 2. We have 25 and also 22. O, next naman, so 30 to 40 naman. Ilan ba yung kumakain sa restaurant mo na ganun yung age? So, we have 36, we have 38, we have 38 ulit, and yeah, ayun. Ayun, meron pang 36 dito. So, merong 4, and then 40 to 50, you have 4 din, and then so on and so forth. So, next, you have to create the bars where the height represents the count in each interval. So, gagawa ka na ngayon ng graph, ng bar. And yung height ng bar mo, magre-represent siya ng frequency. So, dito sa 20 to 30 natin, we have 2 frequencies. So, dito siya sa nakatapat sa 2. And then, so and so forth. The x-axis represents the number of items fitting into each category. So, ito ayun nga, yung frequency. Nagre-represent siya ng frequency in short term. Okay. So, ano ba pinagkaiba ng histogram at bar graph? Yung bar graph may spaces. Kasi, may spaces, may spaces siya sa, between bars kasi, yung histogram kasi, ano siya, parang, categorical variable kasi yung ginagamit. Then, yung sa histogram naman, continuous data nga siya, as I said before. So, ayun. So, sa paggamit mo ng histogram, nalaman mo na kung ano yung kung ano yung age group na palaging kumakain sa, sa restaurant mo. Which is the 50 to 60 kasi you have 5, no? So, ayan. You can use that for improving. You can use the histogram to improve. Bakit walang kumakain na 80 to 19? Chuchu, ganun. There you go. Okay. So, this is a different types of histogram shape. So, this is the common one. So, we have the normal, symmetric, or unimodal. We have the skewed left, skewed right, bimodal, and then we have the multimodal. So, these are just the common ones, no? Pero meron pang iba pang shapes. Nung nag-search ako, well, I saw a lot. But these are the common ones. Okay, now let's move to control charts. Okay. A control chart is a graph used to plot and study how process changes over time. A control chart has a central line for the average or target value for the process being plotted, an upper line for the upper control limit, and a lower line for the lower control limit. Control charts can be used to predict the future performances of the process, and if the process is not in control, an analysis of the chart can help identify the sources of the problem. So they typically consist of the following: points representing the mean ranges or expected value of measurements of a characteristics and sample taken from the process at different times. The mean using all the sample is calculated and a center line is drawn at the value of the mean. The standard deviation for the mean of the value is calculated using all the samples, upper and lower control limits, and then lastly, we have the additional lines may be drawn at 1 or 2 standard deviations above and below of the center line, creating bands around the mean to assess the frequency of the observation or transaction each zone. So, ayun. So, yung control chart is one of the basic tools na ginagamit ng businesses at organization para ma-monitor at ma-assess yung performance ng certain process or programs, at also para ma-identify na din kung may abnormalities ba or problems sa process natin para makorekto tsaka ma-resolve before pa siya lumala. So as the name itself implies, control chart is basically a useful tool that um we can use para ma-make sure na okay lahat, or as we say, everything is under control. Ayun. So it is a graph used to plot and study how a process changes over time. And the following are the details that includes in making control charts. So it always has a center line for the average or the target value for the process being plotted, an upper line for the upper control limit or the maximum allowable value, and a lower line for the lower control limit. So, it is advisable na yung control chart ay mabonitor kasi yung data nag-change siya from time to time. So, tracking of its performance provide management with valuable information about the strength and weaknesses ng controls, at para malaman din natin kung ano ba yung dapat gawin para ma-strengthen yung control natin. So, though it is commonly used by quality control specialists, control chart, however, is seldomly used by internal auditors. So, kung yung process sa control natin is okay, I mean, kung yung process is in control, then more than 99% of the transaction will fall within the control limits. Pero, so, kung yung process is successful, malalaman natin yun kasi yung control chart, sasabihin niya sa atin na yung method na ginagamit natin is gumagana siya. Kasi, yung data sa chart will easily show you what is going on with your process. So, kung yung control chart naman nagpakita siya sa'yo ng anomalies or ng abnormality sa process mo, then you can easily resolve it kasi it can help you identify where the problem is. So, that is the control chart. Okay. Hindi ko to masyadong guess, but I will try my best. Okay. So, a single point outside 3 standard deviation limit above or below the center line. So, as you can see here, meron tayong point dito sa taas. Lumagpas na siya sa upper control limit. And then, meron na din dito sa baba. Lumagpas din siya sa lower control limit. So, ang ibig sabihin niyan is na yung threshold has been breached. Tapos, yung sample or yung process natin is out of control na. Okay, so 2 or 3 consecutive points on same side of mean fall in zone A or beyond. So, as you can see here sa upper control limit, meron na siyang dalawa. So, dapat hindi yan kasi dapat it could be higher or lower. Pero since na ganyan, ibig sabihin yan near miss. And near miss should be analyzed um, para malalaman natin kung ano ba yung nangyari para ma-prevent siya in the future. Ayun. Next. Okay, same lang din. 4 out of 5 consecutive points on the same side of mean fall in zone B. So, kanina merong 2 to 3 na points. Ngayon naman 4 out of 5. So, as you can see here, ibig sabihin yan, merong shift sa ano natin, sa method. May pagbabago. So, kailangan natin ma-examine kung ano ba yung reason ng shift na yun. Okay. Now, we have 6 or more consecutive points increasing or decreasing. So, yan, as you can see here, parang patuloy siya ng pagtaas. So, this indicates a trend. So, ibig sabihin, it's gradually improving. Yes. Okay. Okay. Dito ako nahirapan. Okay, so 8 points in a row in zone B, A, or beyond on either side of the center line. So, I think, base sa example, ang ibig sabihin niyan is, yung point sa dito is nagko-correspond siya sa isang operator or sa isang machine. And then yung points naman dito is parang sa ano naman siya, iba naman siyang operator or machine. So, parang ibig sabihin niyan, merong isang operator na ginagawa niya yung duties niya consistently, pero parang iba yung paggagawa niya sa iba pang operators. Parang magkaiba sila ng process. Okay, so kanina we have 2 or 3, and then meron tayong 4 out of 5, and then meron tayong 6 or more consecutive points, and then ngayon meron naman tayong 9 consecutive points. Ayan. 9. 9, ayan. So, ang ibig sabihin niyan is parang yung operator is nagsuslow, na humihina siya or bumabagal. So, yun. So, dapat we have to um, assess it real quick. Okay. Now, let's go on to Pareto chart. Okay, so the Pareto principle, also known as 80/20 rule, posits that for many events, approximately 80% of the effect are caused by 20% of the cause. Pareto diagrams are designed to organize data and can be used to prioritize improvement effort by focusing on major root causes of the problem under review. So the focus is to focus on the root causes and look for cause and effect relationship. Hmm. So the grouping can derive from data analytics where hmm, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Where the analysis looks for concentrations of the data. For example, by running a cumulative total, what are the categories that, when added together, add up to 80% of the total? Which items, based on the knowledge of process owners, accounts for the majority of the manifested problems? So when drawing the Pareto diagram, draw the diagram with the causes on the horizontal axis, then put points assigned on the vertical axis for each cause. Construct a bar with two components: number of votes received for that component, number of people voting for that cause. When done, rank the items in order of the importance. So let's look at the Pareto chart. Okay. So yung Pareto chart ay isa siyang graph na nag-i-indicate ng frequency of defects at yung cumulative impact nila. Yung Pareto chart ay nakakatulong para mahanap mo yung defect na ipaprioritize mo in order to observe the greatest overall improvement. So, yung Pareto chart, isa siyang parang combination ng bar graph at line graph. Ayan. So, each bar represents type of defect problems. So, each bar, itong mga bar na to, nagre-represent siya ng defects. Sa example natin, parang nagre-represent siya ng error, kung saan yung area ng error, ganun. Yung height ng bar nagre-represent ng important unit ng measure, which is dito yun yung y-axis. So, it represents usually frequency of occurrences. So, kung gaano kadalas ba siya nangyayari. Yung line naman, nagre-represent siya ng cumulative percentage of defect. Kung gaano kalala or kung ilan yung defect, percentage ng defect. Yun yung nagre-represent ng line. Okay. So, when looking at the Pareto chart, you have two ways to help find the defect that have the most cumulative effect. So, yung first bar are always the tallest. So, nag-i-indicate sila ng most common sources of defects. So, as you can see here sa lahat ng Pareto chart, ang una-una talaga is yung pinakang mataas. Kasi sila yung parang pinakang madalas nagkakaroon ng defect. Ganon. And then the second, yung cumulative percentage indicates kung anong defect yung ipaprioritize mo. So, the higher the percentage, the more you should prioritize it. So, yung 80 to 20% rule, yun yung parang, yung Pareto principle, nagsistate siya na yung 80% na results ay dapat malaman sa pamamagitan ng 20% ng cost. So, dapat itry natin hanapin yung 20% na defect type na nagkukos ng 80% ng lahat ng defect. So, ayun. Yung ganun lang yung Pareto chart. Okay. Next. Oops. We have the cause and effect fishbone or Ishikawa diagram. Okay. So, this approach is useful for compliance reviews where operators should do what the contract yan, I'm sorry, law, regulations, or procedures documentation requires. So this approach is also for financial reviews where accountants and other involved record keeping and preparing financial statement must adhere to applicable accounting standards. So, yung cause and effect, isa siyang diagram-based technique na may halong brainstorming with a mind map. So, syempre, pag may problema yung management, importanteng ma-explore mo lahat ng bagay that may have caused the problem bago ka mag-isip ng solution. So, yung cause and effect analysis pushes you to consider lahat ng possible causes ng problems. Instead na magpo-focus ka lang sa obvious kasi parang ano lang yan eh. Pagka nagkaroon ka ng problema, syempre merong obvious na problem or like obvious na dahilan kung bakit nangyayari yon. And then usually doon ka lang magfo-focus pero dapat nagfo-focus ka sa lahat ng bagay. Bakit ba nangyayari yung problem na yon? Okay. So, sa mga accounting activities, merong guidelines na sinusunod. So, yung mga involved na hindi sinusunod yung nasa guidelines, then they have to stop it and start doing what the guideline states. So, for example, when you declare AR uncollectible and write them off, or when do you declare a sale realized and book the revenue. So, may mga specific guidelines na sinusunod para ma-answer tong mga questions na to. So, if the accounting treatment isn't followed, then your accounting treatment is wrong. Okay. So, pagka ano naman, mga operational issues, the answer may not be that simple. So, dun na papasok yung parang cause and effect. Dun mo na siya gagawan ng diagram. Okay. Cause and effect. Okay. So, this is I think, binary perspective. This is the process of the binary perspective. Okay. So, you have to you have to identify what should have been done. So, that is pretty self-explanatory. 2, you have to verify that what was done is consistent with what should have been done. So, ang parang ibig sabihin dyan is that ang kailangan mong malaman kung yung mga natapos ba ay dapat talagang natapos or baka dapat merong mas nauna or baka dapat huli siya. Ganon. So, if the answer to that question or that guideline is yes, then magre-report tayo na wala tayong findings and i-close na natin yung work papers. But then, if it's a no, then maghanap tayo na meron tayong finding and then magre-recommend tayo ng parang practice na in the future na para hindi na siya mauulit ba. Tsaka magiging consistent siya sa guideline number 1. Okay. So, sa 6 categories. So, pagka gagawa tayo ng fishbone diagram, maghahanap tayo ng root cause ng issues. So, yung auditors, yung auditors, parang naghanap sila ng source ng variation, which is often grouped into categories. So, these are the people, methods, machines, materials, measurements, and environments. So, first, people. These are the individuals involved in the process. Methods. This is how the process is performed and the requirements for doing it. This may include policies, procedures, regulations, law, and rules. Next is machines. So, any piece of machinery, computers, tools, or equipment required to perform the work. Next is material. So, this inputs used to produce the product. This may include raw materials, parts, semi-finished goods, and papers. Measurements. This is the data used to evaluate the quality of the process. Environment. This is the condition in which the process of activities are performed. So, this may include time, location, temperature, humidity, noise, and culture. So, itong 6 categories na to, they are sometimes referred to as 6M. Yung people, nagiging lang siya, manpower, and then the environment is mother nature. So, yan, 6 na silang M. So, sometimes 6M yung tawag sa kanila. So, yung category na to, it could be longer than 6 items. Kasi, minsan, nagka-categorize tayo based sa organization or sa environment kung nasan ba tayo. So, as you can see here, magkaiba siya dun sa 6M. Kasi, different environment. So, meron tayong service environment, tsaka, industrial environment. So, yung gagamitin mo dyan is, parang depende kung ano yung na-exercise mo or like kung nasan kang environment. So, sa service environments, meron tayong policies, procedures, training system, technology, environment, plant and equipment, processes, customer, budget, or funding, or money, management, or skills. And then sa industrial naman, meron naman tayong machinery, equipments, or technology, methods or process, materials or money, staffing or manpower, measurement or inspection, environment or mother nature, then we have maintenance and suppliers. So, so ito, nagre-represent lang sila ng major categories. So, pag gagawa ka ng fishbone diagram, kahit saan dyan, pwede kang pumili. Kahit na let's say nasa industrial ka, pwede ka pa rin pumili dito. Like, depende sa problem mo. Basta kung may category na nakapaloob sa isa pang environment, you can use that. Okay, now let's talk about the actual fishbone diagram. Okay, so the name fishbone diagram is due to its shape, which is similar to the side view of a fish skeleton. So if you're going to look at it, it does look like a fish skeleton. Depende sa perspective mo. So, to construct the fishbone diagram, the head of the fish represents the condition identified during the audit. So, let's say gagawa tayo ng fishbone diagram, no? Para mas maintindihan natin. Kunwari gagawa tayo. So, ang una natin gagawin is kailangan mag-agree tayo kung ano ba yung problem or yung effect. So, for example, we came up in with a problem. So, ilalagay natin siya dun sa head part ng fish or yun, sa ulo ng fish. Okay. So, next naman natin ang gagawin is magbe-brainstorm naman tayo kung like, ano ba yung major categories na nagkakos ng problems na to. So, ayun nga, depende kung nasaan kang environment, pero which is applicable naman to everything. So, if you can use the 6 categories, you can use the service or the industrial environments. So, sa example natin, we have the measurement, materials, methods, environment, manpower, and machines. So, yan, once na nag-agree na kayo sa mga yan, isusulat nyo na yan sa parang arrows niya na nako-connect sa parang backbone ng fish. And then, ang next naman is magbe-brainstorm naman kayo kung ano yung bakit possible question. So, magtatanong kayo, bakit nangyayari to? Why does this happen? So, for example, sa measurement, bakit tayo merong problema sa measurement? Kasi merong lab error or merong solvent contamination. Ayun, so, pagka may each idea sa each categories, isusulat nyo dyan. So, ayun, for example, sinabi ko, kasi meron tayong lab error. So, ilalagay nyo dyan siya dyan sa measurement. Pero FYI, kahit na, for example, ito, yung solvent contamination, nasa measurement siya. Pwede din siyang masulat sa ibang categories at kung applicable lang siya, for example, sa materials, meron din tayong lab solvent contamination. So, pwede yung maulit kahit saan, basta parang connected siya dun sa parang category. Okay. And then, parang after nyan, let's say sa lab errors tayo. So, magtatanong ka ulit, why does this keep happening? Bakit tayo may lab error? So, ilalagay mo dyan kasi meron tayong miscalculation, kasi meron tayong improper calibration, ganun. So, ayun, magtatanong ka lang na magtatanong. Oh, wait lang. I have a chart here. Ayan. So, let's say meron tayong problema sa people. Ulitin ko lang yung sinabi ko. Okay, so meron tayong category na people. So, bakit tayo mayroong problema sa people? Sa manpower, let's say manpower, mas fancy. So, kasi meron tayong high employee turnover. Yun yung mga problems. Meron tayong insufficient number of skilled workers. Meron tayong lack of training. Meron tayong poor motivation. And then, magtatanong ka naman ngayon. So, bakit may high employee turnover? Bakit may lack of training? Bakit may poor motivation? So, yun, syempre, masasagot niyo yun. Kasi, kaya may high employee turnover kasi may poor compensation, merong poor management practices, and merong excessive work volume, ganon. So, ayun, ganyan, yan yung parang magiging subcategories niya. So, this is the primary category, tas meron pa siyang subcategory. So, ganun lang din siya. Ayan lang siya. Parehas lang yan. Pero ito, nasa fishbone diagram lang siya. So, ayan. So, ganyan gumawa ng fishbone diagram. So, pagkatapos mo gumawa ng diagram, para magiging malinaw na kung bakit nagpe-present ba yung mga problems na yan, bakit sila nag exist. And then from there, you can take it from there. Ano ba yung mga dapat yung gawin? 'Di ba? So, ang next mo na gagawin is magfo-focus kayo sa may pinakamarami na problem kasi syempre, yun yung pinakamarami yung problem. So, pipili ka dyan or pwedeng lahat yan agad pero mas maganda isa-isa lang para mas organized. So, ayun. Parang, let's say, ang dami nyo problema sa materials. So, mag-iisip kayo ngayon kung ano yung mga pwedeng corrective actions na makakatulong para malesen or like mag-improve pa yung problem na yan. Hanggang sa dadating ka na sa pinaka mismong problem mo. So, ayun. Ayun. So, that is all. Thank you.